Hello everyone, this is Kisa. Whether you found this through my previous novel reading podcast or simply stumbled upon it, I'm glad you're here. Before we begin, a quick note. This novel is a BL featuring a romantic relationship between two men. If that's not for you, please exit now. But if it is your cup of tea, welcome. It's been a year since I recorded anything. I consume so much art and literature that my mind feels full to the point where nothing excites me anymore. So, I decided to return to reading aloud. I considered continuing my previous project, but it has more than 1500 chapters and I was quite overwhelmed. And I also wanted to try a slightly different style of narration this time. So, please bear with my inexperience. Feel free to leave comments on how I can improve your listening experience. I'm looking forward to reading Married Thrice to Salted Fish together with you all. Without further ado, here is chapter 1. The Nanhao Mansion, inside the bridal chamber on the eve of the wedding. The two matrons of honor finished their assignments and took the maidservants of the Howe mansion to file out of the inner room. They hadn't even made it past the door before they were impatiently gossiping in whispers. I have already lived the greater part of my lifetime and I have never seen such a beautiful man. It's a pity he's been married off to an invalid. What do you mean a pity? He's married to the Howe Mansion's young master. If it weren't for his 8 characters managing to fit perfectly for a Chongshi to young Master Howe, would Master Howe and Madam Howe deign to even consider the son of a 5th rank Imperial Hospital Yonpan? What you say is reasonable. Whether this is a blessing or a curse, only time will tell. In the middle of their conversation, the matron of honor arrived at the outer room. Before pulling close the 2 doors, she glanced inside. Amidst the festive bright red, the young man, newly married into the Howe mansion with the bridal veil covering his face, sat quietly like a jade carving on the bridal bed. The door slowly closed, leaving only the rejoicing newly married couple in the bridal chamber. The surrounding area became quiet, and Lin Yu's back, which had been stiff the entire day, finally relaxed. He moved his body a bit, and the tassels hanging on the bridal veil swayed along with him. Wearing a bridal veil was really inconvenient. When a female bride is married, the bridal veil on her head must be lifted off by her husband. Presumably, this was also the case for when a male bride is married. However, he was afraid that his husband was incapable of doing this. His husband. Lin Yu raised his hand to take the bridal veil off himself. His vision finally opened up. He looked around at the light gauge curtains, the red canopy, and the warm quilts. Finally, he turned his attention to the sleeping man on the bed, young Master Howe of Nanan Howe Mansion, Lu Wan Cheng. Under the candlelight, Lin Yu expressionlessly sized up Lu Wan Cheng. Lu Wan Cheng had a crimson wedding robe. His brows were like distant mountains. His lashes were long and thick. His cheeks were hollowed out and his lips were as pale as paper. Though his eyes were tightly closed and his body broken by illness, it could still be seen that he was gifted with extremely good-looking features. From today onwards, this person was his husband. Although he was a man, he became the wife of another man. He was the first male wife formally and legally married in the Dayu dynasty. How completely ridiculous. He'd been preparing for the examination of the Imperial Medical Office for 3 years. If he were to pass the examination, he would become a medical officer just like his father. Even if he weren't to enter the palace, he could open a pharmacy in the capital and be an ordinary doctor. It was a pity that just as he was preparing to go all out for this major undertaking, the empress called his father to appear before her and said, "I hear that you have a son, born on March 11th, on the year of Gu Wei at Chenxi. Is that true?" After getting the affirmative answer from Father Lin, the empress asked the emperor to confer a marriage upon the Lin family and betroth Lin Qingyu to Nanan Hao's eldest son, Lu Wancheng. The officials and the nobility in the capital all knew that Lu Wancheng was born ill and had been bedridden for many years. When he was born, Nanan Hao specially invited the imperial physician to come see him. The imperial physician once asserted that young Master Hao would not survive past the age of weak crown. This year, Lu Wancheng was 19 and his condition was getting worse by the day. Seeing that his days were dwindling and that the end was approaching, Nanan Hao had no other choice but to write for help to the Dayu dynasty's national teacher, who was said to have access to the heavens and knew the ways of ghosts and gods. The letter the national teacher gave him in reply contained only one line of 8 characters, which was exactly March 11th on the year of Gu Wei at Chenxi. It was a crime punishable by death to disobey the emperor's order. Lin Qingyu thought it no great loss if his were to be the only death, but he had to protect his elderly parents and his younger brother. In this way, he became Lu Wancheng's Chongxi male wife. More than 10 years of hard study all turned into a joke. At this moment, Haishi had passed. The servant girl outside the door, who was keeping watch for the night, said, "Shaojun, the hour is here. Kindly serve young Master Hao to bed." Lin Qingyu looked at his sleeping husband and clenched his fingers. She wanted him to serve Lu Wancheng? What a joke. The rules and customs one needed to abide by after marrying into a wealthy family are always complicated and cumbersome. Although it had been a rushed Chongxi, the Nananhao mansion still sent an instructor aunt to the Lin mansion to teach Lin Qingyu on the so-called way of a male wife. Before the wedding, he had his whole body washed clean inside and out. Something like grease had even been applied. Oh my gosh. I know I like both of them, but yeah, this is kind of, the initial chapters were rough. Bear with me. Lin Qingyu was not a good gay man. He has never suffered such humiliation. If it weren't for protecting the people in the Lin family, he would have liked nothing more than to take Lu Wancheng to perish along with him. Seeing that there was no movement in the bridal room, the servant girl urged once again, "Young master, it's time to go to bed." Lin Qingyu closed his eyes and pushed down on the upsurge of malice. He blew out the candles, leaving only one red candle in front of the bed. Lu Wancheng was still wearing the gold embroidered wedding robe. lying atop the quilt. Sleeping this way might be quite uncomfortable. But then, what did it matter to him? He longed for the day that Lu Wancheng slept forever. Lin Qingyu walked to the bed and his eyes fell on Lu Wancheng's crossed hands on his chest. The Lin family was a medical family. Lin Qingyu studied medicine with his father since he was a child. When he was a teenager, he left home to study and follow a famous teacher. Just by looking at Lu Wancheng's complexion, he knew that Lu Wancheng was terminally ill and must be suffering from severe and chronic disease. In order to confirm this, Lin Qingyu condescended to feel the pulse of this sick seedling. Lu Wancheng's wrist was frighteningly cold, as though it had been fished out of cold water. Just as he suspected, Lu Wancheng's vitality was exhausted. His pulse showed signs of approaching death. Unless some miracle working doctor reincarnated, Lu Wancheng would last for only half a year at most. Wow, talk about predictability. That was like all those breadcrumbs, scattered around the chapter. I like this. Okay, I'm going back. He needed only to endure for half a year. When Lu Wancheng passed away, he could be freed. Lin Qingyu unconsciously applied force on his hand, leaving 2 shallow marks on Lu Wancheng's wrist. Suddenly, those pale fingertips moved. Lin Qingyu instinctively let go, letting Lu Wancheng's hand fell back onto the bed. He saw his eyes rolling under his lids, his long lashes trembling slightly. Was Lu Wancheng going to wake up? Lin Qingyu had a solemn expression as he stared at Lu Wancheng unblinkingly. Under his sword-like gaze, Lu Wancheng slowly opened his eyes. Lu Wancheng's eyes seemed to be covered with mist. It was as though he couldn't see anything. When the mist in his eyes dissipated, a trace of puzzlement appeared. Huh? Where did this classical beauty come from? Ha, this lecher. He's already on the verge of death and he still didn't forget to lay on the flattery. Lin Qingyu said coldly, "You're awake?" Lu Wancheng was momentarily dazed. He asked in a hoarse voice, "Who are you?" A hint of surprise flashed in Lin Qingyu's eyes. "Do you not know who I am?" This was their first time meeting, but so long as Lu Wancheng had grown a brain, he should already understand just by seeing the bridal attire he had on him. Lu Wancheng shook his head, let out muffled coughs, and said, "Although it would sound very cliché, I still want to ask, where is this and why am I here?" Lin Qingyu, ... Could it be that the sickness has made him stupid? Or did Lu Wancheng not even know about this marriage? Before the Chongshi, he heard his father mention Lu Wancheng's condition. It was said that Lu Wancheng had been dazed and muddled for the past month. If this were the case, it was likely that Lu Wancheng was completely ignorant of this marriage. Lin Qingyu's expression eased a little. "My surname is Lin and my name is Qingyu." Lin Qingyu. Lin Qingyu. Lu Wancheng said his name, as though hitting upon something. He said, "The beautiful imperial doctor who died in the Eastern Palace?" Lin Qingyu frowned. "What?" Lu Wancheng looked at him for a moment. his face filled with shock. He was then suddenly struggling to sit up. Out of a habit as a doctor, Lin Qingyu pushed the frailing patient back down. What do you think you're doing? Mirror. Lu Wancheng covered his chest with one hand and pointed at the bronze mirror on the cabinet with the other. His long hair lay scattered on the pillow. Give me the mirror. The mirror. Lin Qingyu handed the bronze mirror to Lu Wancheng and asked, "What's wrong with this mirror?" Lu Wancheng saw himself in the mirror and then, as though seeing a ghost, his eyes widened suddenly. His expression looked as if he had 1,000 words to say. He held back for a long time until he almost couldn't breathe. In the end, he only said one word: "Fuck." The servant girl on the night watch heard the movement in the bridal chamber. She knocked on the door and asked, "Shaojun, has something happened?" Lin Qingyu looked at Lu Wancheng, who was dazed as if he'd been struck by lightning, and said calmly, "Tell your Master Hao and the madam that young Master Hao is awake." The servant girl immediately sent someone to report to Nanan Hao and Madam Hao. They then invited the doctor to come. After a while, the bridal room was full of people. It was Lin Qingyu instead who stood by the outermost side, acting like a complete outsider. Dr. Zhang, who was examining Lu Wancheng's pulse, was not an imperial doctor, but he too was a famous doctor in the capital. Dr. Zhang stroked his beard and said in disbelief, "This is the first time this old man has encountered such a situation during his many decades of practicing medicine." Madam Hao said eagerly, "Dr. Zhang, could it be that Wancheng?" "Madam, don't be impatient. That the young Master Hao has woken up is a good thing. Only that, this pulse. Yesterday, this old man also diagnosed young Master Hao's pulse. At that time, young Master Hao's vitality was clearly exhausted, and he was not far from 5 decades of heaven and man. But now, it's like a completely different person." Dr. Zhang clicked his tongue in wonder. It's like the gods have lent their assistance, pouring vitality into his body. Lin Qingyu pondered quietly. Lu Wancheng suddenly got better, and it wasn't that last radiance of the setting sun. It was a bit weird. He has never seen a similar case in any of the medical books. Madam Hao was taken aback and asked, "Then is his illness about to get better?" The doctor did not dare to confirm. He considered it and said, "At least there is a gleam of hope." "Good, good." Madam Hao burst into tears with excitement. "Wancheng, did you hear that? Your illness has taken a turn for the better." Lu Wancheng had no special reaction. He only said, "I heard." The doctor added, "Madam, young Master Hao has just woken up and he still needs to rest." Madam Hao wiped away her tears and said, "Then mother won't interrupt your rest. What about Qingyu? Where is Shaojun?" Everyone looked at each other. Lin Qingyu stepped forward and said, "Madam." Madam Hao held his hand and said with a smile, "Qingyu, as soon as you married into the Hao mansion, Wancheng's illness had taken a turn for better. As expected, the national teacher is gifted with divine strategy and wonderful planning. You are Wancheng's savior. we shall be leaving our Wancheng in your care. Lu Wancheng raised his head and looked at Lin Qingyu. Lin Qingyu said with a smile, "Don't worry, madam. I will do my utmost to take care of young Master Hao." The Momo next to Madam Hao teased, "Ai, Xiaojun, shouldn't you be calling your Master Hao the same way we do? You should call him husband." Everyone laughed and no one noticed that Lin Qingyu's hands, hidden in his sleeves, clenched tightly. Everyone dispersed and the peace in the bridal room was restored once again. The red candle was about to burn empty. Lu Wancheng lay silent on the bed, his brows sometimes furrowed and sometimes smoothened. It looked as though he was trying to remember something. Lin Qingyu was too lazy to pay any attention to him. He stood by the window, looking at the strange moon outside. His body seemed to be covered with moonlight. After an unknown length of time, Lu Wancheng let out a sigh. He said, "Buddy, oh, that's not right. Beauty, come here." Lin Qingyu said coolly, "Who are you calling?" Lu Wancheng smiled and said, "Is there anyone else here?" Lu Wancheng turned around. The swaying candlelight dyed a trace of crimson blush on his cheeks. The teardrop mole in the corner of his eye turned as bright as a peony. He was beautiful but didn't seem to have a good temper. Lu Wancheng coughed a couple of times and nodded at Lin Qingyu to sit. Lin Qingyu remained standing by the bed, keeping an arm's distance from Lu Wancheng. "I had just been sorting out the main threads." Lu Wancheng's tone was calm, without the agitation when he had first woken up. Lin Qingyu said lightly, "And what has that got to do with me?" "It's got a little to do with you, because what I was thinking about pertains to your main threads." Having said these few words, Lu Wancheng was already a little weak and pale. If I'd come a few days earlier, I definitely wouldn't have agreed to this marriage, where you would only inevitably wind up as a lifelong widow. Lin Qingyu's expression was numb. "What's the use of you saying this now?" "Indeed, now we are married. We have tied the knot, we have performed the wedding ritual, and the whole capital knows that we are husband and wife." Lin Qingyu sneered. "No." "Huh?" Lin Qingyu sneered. "We didn't perform the marriage ritual. You were asleep the whole time. I performed the ritual with a big cock." Lu Wancheng scoffed. "That's all right. It's fine. If we didn't perform the ritual, that's good too. You don't have to take this marriage seriously. I won't live past half a year, so you will just have to be wronged for half a year. When I die, you can make off with my inheritance and return to the Lin residence. This way, you won't suffer too much of a loss." Lin Qingyu was startled and said suspiciously, "Is there such a good thing?" "There is, but how much inheritance can you bring home depends on your own ability." Lu Wancheng leaned back on the soft pillow and said in a lazy tone, "With this broken body, I won't be engaging in any domestic struggles. The waters run deep in Nananhao mansion. I can't grasp it. I just want to drift along, eat, and wait to die. I want to weigh salted fish." And that concludes chapter 1. So I have read this before, and I have read more than half of the novel, so I do know that Lu Wancheng is such a green flag, and And lynching you is a strong MC. I would say that. So I really, really appreciated their story building, the way they form their bond, and how it slowly evolves. I don't want to spoil too much, but I really wanted to reread this. That's why I'm doing this podcast. This is my reread, rereading out loud, I guess. So, yeah, stay tuned to the next chapters and comment below and let me know. I can just read it like a book, or I can leave my comments in between. I don't have different voices, so I can't really narrate that well and separate it, but I'll try my best.